pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next order of business, the regular session minutes from September the 20th.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second vote.
Yes.
And then the second would be the special section last Friday, September 24th.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second vote.
Yes.
We want to have our speaker on that. You ready to go?
Hi, Paul. I'm trying to get this to go full screen. There we go. Second.
There you go, moving on.
Hi, Paul, are you there? And go. Whoops. He seems to be on.
Why don't you work on that? We can whiz through public comment period. Anything from Brookside?
Just a big thank you to both Ian and Chief Cicero for their help and support with our hog roast this last weekend. Thank you very much.
Nothing to report on Worthington Hills. Their meeting is next week. We'll have something to report. The second meeting, EFCON Ravello, the EFCON HOA meeting is November 18th, 1 o'clock at the clubhouse. We'll be down there for a short presentation of updates, police growth.
Anything else under public comment? All right, ready to go with Paul?
Yeah.
Zoning.
Oh, God, can you switch on
Go
zoning?
ahead.
We can go to
yeah.
road. Let's go to road.
Okay.
Under old business, the radar signs have been installed and are working.
Yeah.
We're happy.
Okay.
Yes.
I printed out a report if you want, just kind of.
Is that what this is here?
I think so. Is that it? Is
Yes.
it this?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll give you the type of information it collects, the signs,
Okay.
just give you a good idea.
So residents are very happy that they are there. There are unofficial to see how fast kids can run by and how fast bikes can go by. So there, of course, have been conversations about other roads and wanting to see the recording and everything. And I told them that it's, work in progress.
So what we've got, this report is from 9/20 to 9/30.
Okay.
Okay, it's 1 week. So, or I'm sorry, 10 days. And if you look times on the left, if you look here, it tells you how many cars during, so between midnight and 1 a.m. on.
Okay.
So to make a long story short, after the totals, your weekday average is about 594 cars that come through on it. It's a weekday. On the weekend, you have about 443 cars coming through. For the average week, when you put both together, you have about 551 cars weekly. The average speed is 23 miles an hour. 85% of the cars are averaging 26 miles an hour. So it is, and that is with, let's see, this was McVeigh Boulevard one. Is that north or southbound?
One that is, sorry,
I can't
that's
remember.
northbound.
Northbound. So, and then when you look at the other one, it is, so that one is, I'm sorry, northbound, so southbound.
It's southbound.
Okay, so
Right.
this is southbound. So location one is the southbound one.
Okay.
The location two is northbound. Northbound averages a few more cars. The weekday average is 575 northbound. The weekend average is 435 with a weekly average of 536. And the average speed there is 24 miles an hour, and 85% of the cars going northbound average 28 miles an hour.
Okay, so recognizing that we now have Paul, do you want to continue this conversation or go back?
Okay, so we can go to Paul. We can.
How about we go to Paul?
Yeah, and then we'll finish
We'll go
this.
back.
All right.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Paul, how are you?
All right. I'm good. I actually had to switch over to my cell phone because I've got a new operating system in here that the county IT guys have been working on, and there's some kind of glitch where I could see you, hear you, but you couldn't hear me. So we'll have to work on that. But anyway, thank you for letting me join you this evening. We met shortly with your crew, I don't know how, about a month ago, right? Mary and Chief. You there?
Real quick.
Want to set the stage?
Yeah, so Mary and I went up to meet in person. Beth did a phone call in, and we met with Paul. And I'm sorry, Paul, your assistant fiscal officer's name?
Donna Batten.
Thank you. We met with Donna, and we met with their deputy chief and just to discuss kind of what they've gone through as far as how they've gotten to their renovations, what they've done, the process. And I gotta be honest, based on what all three of those folks told us, I talked to Beth and I said, I think we need to hit the brakes, listen to what they have to say, because we may be going about this a little backwards. So again, I fear, and then Beth had the idea, let's have him come by and talk with everybody. So that's kind of where we're at. The other thing I want to throw out as a disclaimer, Paul is from my neck of the woods. He's a Valley boy. So
Must be a good guy.
he's a great guy. And Donna is also from our neck of the
There you
woods. And one last thing, Paul, Mr. Roper is a Youngstown boy, so we include him in on the Valley side, just so you know.
That's honorary.
Cook our pizza, that's the only.
Here we go.
Youngstown guy, huh? That means half of his voters were proclaimed dead before in the last election, or I don't know. I don't know how they do that in Youngstown. I don't know.
Voting.
Hey, okay, well, here we are. So just to start you off, I just want to start you high level, but from the very beginning. And the way we're set up, that probably about 10 years ago, our trustees decided that in order to maintain a lot of transparency and get public input on fire, police, fiscal, all the committees like that, communications, they decided to make citizens advisory committees. And so that's kind of like the start of everything. So we had a citizen advisory committee that used to meet, well, they still meet with the chief and deputy chief monthly or however needed. And they expressed concerns over the condition of the police station along with our regular crew, and it was in bad shape. So they went to our trustees and said, listen, we're recommending as citizens that you investigate how to improve a better environment for your staff. And so we decided to perform a facility assessment on all of our buildings. And when it came back, the police department was listed very poor, listed as inadequate space for staff, men and women sharing the same locker space, and really cramped with plumbing issues and mold. So we took the facility assessment then as a means to then request to go to the next step. And so if your board decides to do this, I would recommend that, you start off with an RFP, and I'm not sure why you're looking at bigger space or a better station, but the facility assessment kind of steered us in that direction. And so I went out for an RFP for architects, and we had a whole slew of architects apply, and then I had a rating system, and then we went with the architect of our choice based upon the highest ratings. And that happened to be, for us, it was Horn and King Architects out of the POW area. Anyway, from there, do you have any questions?
Yeah, Paul, this is Chet. Can I ask you a quick one here? So the facilities assessment that you had done, who did that? How long did it take, and you generally know how much it cost?
We had this done in 2016. So I can't remember the cost. I know it wasn't too awfully expensive, but we divided each portion of this thing up by department. We've got a fire department here, and everyone paid their portion of it. And Horn and King Architects was the firm that performed the assessment, and it was very thorough. They toured all the facilities. They brought in electrical people. They brought in engineers. They assessed they kicked the tires on all of our buildings and came up with, here's what's needed here, here's what's needed here. So from there, after we had this, we decided that we wanted to investigate a new police station. So we already had the facilities assessment in place, so we knew the current condition. So we moved ahead with then hiring the same architect, since he was familiar with all of our properties, et cetera, to create a scope of services with them for a schematic design for a new station. And basically, after that, the schematic design would tell the board how big of a station you need, where you're going to build it, what's the best site, how much space, how much parking, all of those things. And, these things, like the initial facility assessment, I think I missed the question, but it took a few months to complete, Chet. And so moving on to the new police facility, schematic design of the new police station was set up. And it was like 2 months where Dave King came in and he met with all the police staff, talking about what they envisioned in this building and where they needed space and growth for the next 20, 30 years, where we needed to be at. And one of the big things we hit on was storage. We needed additional, we're always building things much too small here. So it took 2 months then to do the design of a basic station. But with that in mind, it was once the board approved the size and shape, et cetera, of the building, that pretty much we could perform based upon current comps. We used the police station in Pataskala to tell us what the cost is per foot to build it. And they plotted it on paper. We saw all the sizes of all the offices, and it came up with an X amount figure, which was, in our case, ended up being $7 million. So we were planning on a facility, and it ended up being 16,400 square feet. So now we had to have the size of the building, and we have the cost estimate. So we started working now with concurrently with financial experts that we hired to help us achieve to go get a bond rating. And we worked with a township resident, happened to be the expert in the community on municipal funding. His name was Mike Burns. And we worked with Mike Burns a lot. He brought in a team of other experts, like an attorney that we worked with that prepared all the legislation. We worked kind of parallel working with this bond committee, because it'll take you at least 6 to 8 months. If you're planning to bond the new station, they'll work with you, and having the schematic design prepared helps sell this thing to the public. So once all the legislation was done, we went and put it on the ballot, and we were able to show some renderings based upon the size. And it's a good tool to sell it to the community, and showed the bad things that were wrong with the old station and what the new station will look like with all the sizes, et cetera. So it's a busy time trying to go through the bond presentations, and also working with architects to prepare us for the possibility of the approval of the levy. So after it went to the voters and was approved, we then were starting then full bore on this process then to build it. And just to let you know a time frame, we started the design development phase where we talked about the nuts and the bolts inside of the facility and what specs we were looking at, and that phase would run you 3 months. Then once that was done, we started preparing construction documents, and that took 4 months to prepare specs internal so that all the contractors are prepared to bid on it. Bidding phase is another 2 months. And then once we hit the construction, once we approved a contractor for the construction, it's a 13-month time to get it built. So what you saw was the final product.
Hey, Paul,
Yeah.
you don't mind, I wanted to back up a little bit because during our conversation, I believe that you all had said that you were initially going in thinking you were just going to renovate, but after the assessment, you were going to not be.
Well, what we decided at the facility assessment phase was it's almost going to cost us, it'd be bad money to throw into the old facility because there's no space in there to build. And we weighed, it would cost us a lot more money to try to fit it on the existing site than to build a new facility. Because basically the whole site over there needs to be, if you're going to use that building, and it's going to cost you at least $2 million just to rehab what's in the walls of it right now. So they wanted to go out, have some expansion, have additional parking, have a place for cruisers to have shelter, and better money to go for a new facility. So your assessment of the facility assessment should tell you whether it's salvageable and how much it's going to cost for the next steps.
So Paul, the assessment was the tool that led you to that decision. Gave you
Yeah.
assessment of your current facility and options available to you moving forward.
Yeah, it told the story what the problem was with the existing site, and it led us then to design and make alterations to make a better facility for more room.
Okay.
This process isn't going to happen overnight. And we were lucky that we had good planners, good financial people, and a contractor that worked well with the township. And we built the $7 million facility and only had, and I'm proud to say, I think we only had a dozen change orders. So, which is very good for a facility this size. That means that the architect, all the planning was good, meaning that everything we planned ahead of time and had spec and had plans for it with the contractor, building it, there weren't hardly any changes to the original plan. And the changes that we made were just making a lot of sense. The major change order, it happened very early. What happened was when, when we got the bond, $7 million, we received it in the summertime, and we did not have to make any monetary disbursements on that money until January. So we sat on $7 million for a bunch of months, and we were able to take the interest from that bond levy and upgrade one of the options that we had for our station. So we basically went from a shingled roof to a metal roof with the change. It was like we used about $120,000 in interest that we were lucky that we got to upgrade it with that.
Would you mind talking a little bit more about, because this was definitely no surprise to your residents. You worked with the advisory committee. You did a lot of legwork, working with the community to prepare them for this, and so they would understand the need and so on and so forth and support it in the end. Could you kind of walk them through that?
You know, it's kind of funny. If you want to, we have a Facebook page just solely for the police department. So if you go back and look a few years back, we have a great communications director in the township, and she actually worked with the sergeants and lieutenants. They went through and made a video of the existing police station and all of the faults that are wrong with it, and how, and some of them were comedic, like they showed two officers bumping each other in the hallway because they're not enough, the halls weren't big enough. So we used positive PR like that to show the deficiencies with the station. And it got a lot of residents behind us saying, I don't want my police officers working in this condition. You know, we showed the bad plumbing. So if you want to check our history in our Facebook page, it's kind of, we use tools like that to help sell this thing before there was even an election. So we garnered a lot of public support.
Great.
Did your, Paul, did your citizens advisory group, how were they engaged from the point that they sat down together to meet and obviously talk with staff a little bit and review the facilities, and then came to the board of trustees with a recommendation? What was their role after that recommendation was approved?
It was actually very good because we, you know, after it went to the bid and we awarded bids, we had construction update meetings every Monday. So we had two members of the advisory committee who were experienced in business and this type of construction. We had two of them volunteer to sit in on all the construction meetings. So they were there and they would report back to the whole committee on progress. And they were actually able to solicit some donations for us also, because we just don't go out asking people for money. So one of the guys even donated the flagpoles to the station. So they were very helpful because they were able to keep, I didn't have to be on the phone with every member of the citizens advisory group. They reported back to their own committee. So, but they were very active on their points of view on how the station's going, and very active in the meetings. So.
How many people do you have on that committee?
Oh my goodness, there is a slew of them right now. There's probably 15 members or so, or maybe 10, 15. We had a bunch, there's some that moved out of the area. So we had a handful resign. So I'd say right now we're about a dozen people on it.
Deputy Chief Shabali sent me the information on the advisory. They hold 15.
Oh,
Is
okay.
what their advisory committee is.
And they're down right now. So, but
Gotcha.
what you do is you try to, when you're looking for citizen, you know, you ask for some people who are a cross section of all your demographics. So we have, you know, single people, we have older people, seniors, part of it. We have ex-police officers on there. We got one fellow that works with the Attorney General's office, Art Ritz. I know some of you know Art Ritz. He's on the committee. We used to have a couple FBI agents that lived in the township, part of it, and they provide a lot of support and other points of view that are helpful to the chief.
Any other questions?
Do you, Paul, have you provided the RFP that you utilized? Is that something you could share?
Yeah, I could share with you a lot of the information that I have. It's kind of funny because I was telling your chief that the city of Weirton came and saw our facility, and they liked it so much that they hired our architect and they stole our plans. So they didn't steal public records. So I provided them all the plans, the drawings, and they're gonna build the exact same facility in Weirton, so.
Right
Did you
across
tell
the
them
road.
you want a commemorative plaque or something?
Yeah, I'll just take a slice of that Valley pizza from them.
Yeah.
Not the Youngstown stuff.
It's too spicy.
Well, that'd be great. if we could
Yeah,
get that
that'd be
stuff.
terrific.
Yeah.
If you want to send that information to me, Paul, that would be very helpful.
Okay, I'll work on that tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Really
Paul.
appreciate your time.
Thank
It's good
you.
to
I
see
know
you.
it. Okay, thanks. If you got specific information, I would, if you're looking into the bond stuff, I gave Mike Burns your contact information. So I'm telling you, it's very easy to talk to this guy. So he's nice. So anyway, good luck with everything you do over there.
One quick question.
Yes.
If you- I know the answer to this. What percentage of that 7 million went to like house the fire and EMS portion of your stuff?
There's
That was-
none.
It was all police
It was all-
department.
Oh, it's all police?
It's
Just
all
police.
police. The only part of this building, we put in a very large community room. And it's a nice for training facility. We could host police training in it. We can hold trustee meetings in there if we needed a space that's bigger. But it's all police. The whole site was built on a American Legion site that Casto owned, and they cut us a great deal. They cut the price $1 million and sold it to us for half price. So
And what's the size of your police force?
we are, I think, 28, going up to, I think, 30.
Okay.
Okay.
And just one more question. Didn't you go through the same, sorry, Paul, didn't you go through the same process for your administrative building?
That was before my time.
Okay.
This was built the year after I got here, thank God.
Okay, terrific. Thank you.
All right, guys, let me know if you have any more questions, email me.
Thank you, Paul.
Sure. Take care,
Thanks,
Paul.
Paul.
Have a nice night.
Have a good night.
Bye.
You too.
Bye.
Didn't we meet with Mike Burns before? Is that the
Sounds
person
awfully
that we
familiar.
had?
I will say, we've already been through that RFP process. We've done the bidding and everything. So that part of it's done on our end.
I can tell you, we don't need anything the size they have.
Okay, well, I didn't
I mean,
think
I got
so,
the
but-
tour of that building. I think they're around I think they're just under 17,000 square foot. You could cut that building down by about 7,000 or 8,000 square foot easily. I mean, you could almost go in half. of what
Don't they have fire and EMS?
No, they do, but in a separate building.
I would just think that's a lot of square feet just for police.
Yeah, but what I'd like for them to consider is, since all of our buildings are relatively old, the first two were in the 1960s, police in the 70s. It would be kind of nice to get a gist of what it would be to put us all in one building, if we could,
One
you
room.
know?
Yeah,
So we have one copier, one, stuff we can share that we don't have to triple.
Yeah.
they have, and their facility was built that way because they're going to 30. Actually, their deputy chief said they're going to 32. But they also have so much undeveloped there, and they're much
Yeah.
larger than we are. So their facility is to house up to 60 officers, I believe, is what they're looking at.
I mean, they're always building.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
they've
what
got
I'm-
room to grow.
Oh, I forget how many
Yeah.
acres they said that's undeveloped. I mean, just farmland, and they're just gonna keep growing.
Yeah.
But they built that facility in order to
size up.
size up, yeah.
Right.
And like you said, you always wanna size up a hair. For
Sure.
them, they do the studies. Where were they? How much has their growth been in the last 10 years? So they're projecting over the next 25 to 30 years, we're probably gonna double our size in police force. If
Right.
That makes sense. So,
So the assessment was done by
It was the person that they hired as the
the
architect.
King.
Carmen, or what was the name? I'm sorry.
I've seen that office about someplace.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
think it's on, it's kind of a cool looking building.
I'd have to go back to, we had several people respond to that RFP. We'll see if they were one of
If they
them.
respond.
Yeah,
That's the one I'm thinking of. It's on, if you would go up Jewett and turn right to go into Powell, what is that road? It's,
What, Jewett?
what's the main road in Powell? It's Powell Road, you know, Liberty, it's Liberty Road. It's on Liberty.
Yeah, Liberty Road.
It's on Liberty Road, maybe a quarter of a mile from the cross.
From the big, yeah.
That's the architect firm I'm thinking of.
They
So-
don't have the RFP out here.
that was done ages
I
ago.
know.
I'll have to get
Okay.
it back for you.
So for that company, prepositioning, but just I think that company to do the assessment, they would have had to gone through the process.
According to this process, if you're doing, hiring a contractor or architect, the new law says you have to go through the RFP.
Okay.
And during that process, King narrowed it down to 3 organizations.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna have to look to see what that list was.
when you got down to Mike Lusk,
Lusk.
Yeah,
Lusk,
LUSK.
Lusk. You, was he to do an assessment? Was that the first
No,
step?
I think it, no.
Or was he just
that was
start drawing?
he just started drawing. Right.
Okay,
But I will say, I know, I've talked to different, kind of throw things out there to my group and some people call and give me feedback or whatever. I know our community that I moved into, even though it's not that old, they did this as well for budgetary purposes. You know, how much do we need to collect for X amount of time, because in 20 years, we're gonna need to put new roofs on everything. I know at the time, just for our community, that seemed like a really smart thing to do looking forward, and when you're trying, I really like the idea of this assessment. I think it's gonna give the trustees all the information needed to try and decide which route to take, because in Paul's case, renovation sounded really good until they started getting down to the nitty gritty and the numbers and how are we gonna make everything work.
Right.
So,
I mean, I think more information is, it's always better.
yeah,
I mean, I think you get the information in front of us, but, I mean, obviously Andy's not here tonight, but we had to have a conversation, but I like the idea of an assessment very much.
I am gonna ask
I like it being an
Andy.
independent,
Yeah,
so
independent.
nobody's coming in with their own.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
ideas about
Um,
what we should or should not.
Andy was aware that Paul was gonna be on here tonight, but I am gonna ask Andy to
Listen,
pull this video
okay.
and review it and stuff, so he can kind of catch up on everything.
Last conversation with Beth, depending what happens with this property over here, at some point it'll be sold and whatever. How does that affect us?
That's what I was thinking.
And that would be
Yeah.
part of the assessment.
Yeah,
Exactly
because
right.
again,
That had to
if
be-
that affects our property in any way, what does
Parking
it
and
affect?
stuff
It
like
affects
that.
parking, so how do we, because again, we have growth, we're never gonna be Genoa Township,
Right.
realistically, but how far we go, not sure. I mean, I think we can get an idea because we know what we have right now, what's trying to come on board, and then we have a wild card or two that's kind of like, okay, maybe I will, maybe I won't, but again, I think that is a factor.
It is, I mean, in multiple ways,
Yes.
you know, in
Yeah.
terms of the traffic, all of those things, in
Oh,
terms
yes.
of the value of this property and.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're not
So,
allowed to do eminent domain, are we?
His home, his living home rule,
Really? I didn't think we could.
We'll find out,
I don't know.
I'll find out.
let's take over.
Oh.
Let's take
All right,
over.
Steve, calm down.
What do you think?
Back up just a
Well, I don't know, I
little
mean,
bit.
you know, we've seen different
Who wants a
parcels
chopper?
that, you know, like on Snapper or something like that. I don't know if that was would work at all.
Yeah.
And then just talking about just options, you know.
Right.
Right,
The,
yeah.
the
It'd be
one,
great to be a little more central.
right, the one
Yeah.
downside of this, I mean, if you had something over on Snap, they could be in Brookside, literally in,
Mhm.
Seconds.
less than a minute. You could be in Worthington Hills probably in less than 3 minutes. It's like,
Well,
you would be so much quicker to 90% of the folks who live.
Yeah, because you're not fighting all this
All the
traffic.
traffic
Yeah.
around here.
and what I would tell you, at the end of the day, wherever we find, if we stay and whatever, the officers are always out on the street anyway, so they're always gonna be close by, but to be centrally located makes it simple for our residents and for, again, same thing. When you do have it shift change and you have that call go out somewhere, it's nice to go, oh, we can go right across the street, be in a neighborhood and take care of it. So,
Well, even back for the
when we
road
think about-
department, you guys are out, so it
Yeah.
doesn't make quite as much of a difference. For you guys to be, you know.
We're in the center.
Well, and even when we think about the times that we've attempted to do community focused events, this is out of
This
the
is
way
not it.
for everybody,
Right.
you know, in terms of our residents.
Right. And I guess
Oh,
when I was kind of starting looking at this, I personally was looking at all departments.
Mhm.
I think through the conversations, the police became the priority, simply because of the numbers they have and the space they have. So,
the most important, that's just-
yeah,
I don't think she said that.
I said the priority, Steve.
Settle
So
down.
in case, well,
Let him
maybe
think.
I'll
We'll be
try to get
asking
some
him
more
for something
information, from him and how that whole process works. I think it
Do
came
you want to ask
up.
Mary to email him and?
I gotta chair this thing, so, you know,
Can't leave the seat.
I can't leave the seat.
Okay, so we'll kind of work on that. then.
I wanted to look at a map. Now that you said, oh.
Do you need me to open it for you?
You're going,
No ice?
It's a fun bunch.
He wanted me to ask you to get him water.
is that what?
Yes.
I thought you might be running back.
Well, why didn't you just ask Mary? Mary could then take care of it. I'd get an email and.
Oh, dear.
You know, I can start bringing those orange trees.
I wasn't properly hydrated to chair this thing coming in. So we'll-
So this now for property,
Yes,
it's this. So there's like,
Right up by Danbury, isn't it? Oh, honey, no, you should not be.
Yeah,
she's got to walk, otherwise she gets stiff.
Motion is lotion.
So
yes,
does
this is
this pink?
it.
That's
Pink
what my physical therapist told me.
We haven't
I think I need a
had
drink now.
we do, it falls under the annexation.
They're gonna have a problem.
We got to patch that.
If
One
You're gonna get
green
in trouble.
Yeah.
This is
I'm stealing
incorporated in
that one,
that.
so you know.
Well, you know, I obviously had to communicate that with Mrs. Roper. Again,
Here to put it
on
in.
the advice of my physical therapist.
Well, then, my son said it.
I'm
I'm so glad it's come to you.
Well, we'd have to get this person that he's had.
And then this parcel to the far left is the cell tower.
So.
It's fun.
That mother's heart thing, you know? Kill me.
Right.
There or looks like there.
What you want?
It's more fun to do that.
That's in the minutes.
I just something I have to keep in mind.
We just get a,
What was
well,
that?
we always thought about that.
Lotion is lotion.
I mean, those three parcels together,
Very highlights that.
are what, 2 acres, 2.5 acres?
Wasn't it 2.25, I think?
2.5
Are
acres.
they on one, their whole thing's one story too, right?
Yes, they wouldn't do
It's
this.
because the elevator was like crazy expensive.
What
Because I know it's always cheaper to go up.
it is, but the elevator
Yeah,
is like almost $1 million.
Right.
or
It was
something.
like, that was at Clinton Township when I asked Clinton Township why they
Yeah.
didn't have 2 stories. Now, I mean, I would not rule that option out, you
Right.
know, because it might have just been based on, I don't know, Clinton's needs or whatever, the size or whatever like that, but that was the feedback from Clinton.
Their site is large enough, they didn't need to go up, so they were.
Yeah, I
able to
just know for square foot wise, so it's much, it's not much, but it's a fair amount cheaper. If you wanted to do a 2,000 square foot
You
home,
buy it?
it's much
No.
cheaper to build
Yes.
1,000 over
Buy it, tear it
1,000
down.
than 2,000.
Oh,
Really?
like
Like a
absolutely.
ranch.
Yeah, yes.
You know, in Worthington, we looked in there enough, and it's got a nice 2-story feature to it. And
Yes.
sometimes it's nice to have offices upstairs and community rooms downstairs, but
Yeah.
the killer is the elevator.
Yeah,
I think you must have to have an elevator in a public building,
Oh,
do.
yeah.
Yeah.
You have to.
yeah,
so, you know,
yeah, because of ADA access.
right.
But does that, like, if we were to have all access to the public on the first floor, would it be the same requirement?
Yes,
Wouldn't it,
yes.
yeah,
Yeah,
because for
because you're a
employees
public
as well,
building.
I mean, the,
I know.
I'm not naming any
Hello?
names, right?
We talked to somebody not so long ago that is doing a facility, and I don't remember who it is. The elevator for them, because we originally told it's like $1 million a floor. Well, for them, it was like $150,000 to add the elevator. It was not a.
Why the difference?
hand crank.
Well, I think.
Get one of those things you
I think it
see
depends who it
for
is.
your house where they like latch it on to your stairs.
You know,
You strap yourself onto a little seat. There she goes.
It's the curve. But I think it's one of those things, like Bess, I wouldn't rule it out. I think it's something you just look at and say, okay,
As an option,
yeah.
because it would all be conceptual initially anyway.
Right.
so.
And that's something that your architect and your contractor say, okay, like you said, we're gonna do 2,000 square foot here and 2,000 square foot here. How much it costs to do this elevator? Or, do we just put it all here type thing?
Right.
So.
Okay, I like the assessment a lot.
I do too.
I do too.
Man, I'm
Thanks,
just
good
just
idea.
saying is,
Well, there's so many things, like I said, if you stayed here, you'd have to see what goes there.
Yes,
If you didn't stay here and they wanted to acquire this, which is entirely possible, that could give you some options.
Mhm.
right,
and that's why I said, I think that jumping on this is where we, like I told us, let's look at these options. The assessment, I think, is this the
I think
best way
that's
to
a
go.
Maybe we just need to do
So
some
we
small
can't
changes
add-
initially.
we can't add this company after we've gone through the process.
I think, yeah.
Why
you
can't we
but you have
revise
to-
the RFP to,
I'll check with Pete in the morning and
Okay.
ask what the options are.
I mean, I'm not saying, I wouldn't know them, I only know what the building Jim's talking about, I mean, I don't guess it's there, I've probably passed it a million times, but I just, they had a good experience, but I'd like to have as many options as possible, and if
Yeah.
they're not on the list, it's not an option.
Yeah, well, I will say that I would assume that West Office and the other two that fell behind them would have the same capabilities. But
right,
Yeah.
but I get that it's always good.
but
to
if
know.
we have to go out for some sort of modified RFP because we now we're changing the states to include an assessment, then.
Right,
other folks
but
will-
I'll find out
You'll
for
find
everybody,
out,
let you all
okay.
know.
All right, let's just start.
I'm not winning any time.
Zoning,
No, well, it's actually counts against them, so. Put that in my record. Let's just finish up road department, then we'll jump back to zoning. So we were talking about the radar signs. The only thing I'd add to that, I think we're about done. I got a call from a resident who seemingly didn't like the radar signs. What are you trying to accomplish? People get this, and so.
no,
I responded, so
Is
you
that-
know.
is that your guy? We're gonna designate him as your guy?
No, he's not my guy.
Okay.
But he called me and then I called him
Okay.
and, and we had a conversation and then I directed him to the chief.
Yeah, good idea.
And I reached out to him and he responded back and said, thank you, but we're all good.
Okay.
That was his
good.
response, so.
Okay.
Because I reached out and just said, if you have questions and any concerns, and he was concerned that I may not get back to him, and I said, any concerns, let me know, and he said, we're good, thank you.
Good.
Good.
So,
All right, construction update.
Shelley will be in, is scheduled to be in next week to do the paving. They're hoping they can be in by the end of this week to mill out.
Okay.
Oakview Court. And then come back in next week and pave. We'll see. I was supposed to hear back from Mark this afternoon to confirm that schedule. TNT is tearing out concrete on Mark Haven Court. They started their flat work last week. He should be done early next week. That's pretty much it that I have for the construction update. Under new business, I'd like to ask the board to approve extending the mosquito management service contract out a year in 2022 at $6,461. This is a 1.5% increase over the last year's contract rate.
I'll make that motion.
Second,
Vote,
yes.
yes.
Thank you. And then Stormwater Awareness Week is October 17th through October 23rd. I'd like to ask the board to adopt a community stormwater resolution recognizing Stormwater Week, October 17th through the 23rd.
You get the stickers to put on top of it.
We are,
Yes.
to recognize Stormwater Awareness Week, the Boy Scouts are doing a project on the 16th. Putting stormwater, no dump stickers on Club View and Circle on the Green.
And they have a little thing that says provided by Trustee.
Well, they're
We
special,
just-
they're special, on Circle on the Green, different sticker.
They're gold foil.
Goldfish.
I move that we adopt the community stormwater resolution.
Second,
Vote,
yes.
yes.
And my last item is, I'd like to ask the board to approve the 2021-22 service contract between the city of Columbus and Perry Township for snow and ice removal.
I'll make that motion.
Second,
Vote,
yes.
yes.
Thank you.
Anything else on the road department?
Do we have
That's it.
something for that to sign?
Yes.
Yes,
Do you want to miss it?
well, I think Mary had one of these up there.
Wait, maybe
Yeah,
it's-
this might be with you.
I don't know. if-
no, this is fingerprints.
Can't hear you, Mary.
Oh, that's the mosquito management.
Yeah,
She's not good, we just can't hear her.
Oh, she's not muted, but we can't hear her.
Still
Sorry,
can't hear
Mary.
I can sign the service contract.
okay,
you. Okay, you go ahead and do that then.
okay.
And here. And like double check to make sure there's no more.
That's your thing.
Which one did I,
This is mosquito.
Yeah, I can sign the service contract but
the mosquito
What,
one?
City of
Or the
Columbus?
for
Columbus?
City of Columbus.
Oh,
yeah.
you do Columbus.
All right, so you do,
So you guys do that.
this is
I
what I
know
just
the
handed back to
resolution
you a
is
minute
up
ago.
there to be signed.
Oh, I see. Yes,
That's the
I'll
same as
sign
that.
it, we'll be good.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
I didn't
Anything
see
else
that.
on the road department?
That's it.
Okay, zoning.
Okay. And Andy's absence, under old business, motion to declare the property owned by Naomi L. Taylor located at 987 Larkstone Drive in Perry Township, Franklin County, a nuisance. If I could get a motion, please.
So move it.
Second, vote,
Yes.
yes.
Michelle, is there anything new on the Thompson Street?
We did meet with,
Right.
yes, thank you, and it is on their agenda for the 11th. Although the suggestion was going to be made that the developer meet with us again to further discuss and clarify some of the points. There's, one of the key issues that we had initially was about what type of outbuildings and things they could do as it got closer to McVeigh and the neighbors on Cutter Court. And that's a fairly vague, and verbal agreements that had been made previously are not supported by the text currently. So that's where we are right now. This is the resolution.
I find that odd that they're actually having a council meeting on Columbus Day.
Well, that's the day she gave us.
I
unless
know, I
that's
got that for
interesting.
another issue, our consent legislation and everything.
Oh,
It's gonna
interesting.
go on the 11th. Never mind that. I just think it's odd.
It is.
Also, indigenous people.
Well,
Oh, wait, did I?
I guess they're probably not recognizing Columbus Day, they're recognizing that,
Both are
Is
on
this-
the calendar, so we'll see.
Indigenous People Day.
Did I not hand you the Larkstone property?
This is stormwater, this is Larkstone.
Yeah, that's
Did I hand you
Naomi.
Larkstone?
Well, yeah, I got, if you wouldn't, because
Okay.
we keep one in a file and one in the
Okay.
minutes.
Oh.
All right.
Just for.
We do it twice.
Got it.
Okay, under new
How about three?
business.
You want three? Three?
Sure.
Okay.
Under new business, I would like a motion by roll call vote, please, for the Board of Trustees to receive the zoning commission's exceptional use text recommendation and set the public date hearing as October 18th, 2021 at 6:30 PM. Exceptional use district revised language.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Second. Roll call vote then?
Yes,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mr. Roper,
Yes.
Mr. Cheney,
Yes.
thank you very much. And that's, oh, I did want to add, in your Dropbox, there is just kind of an update for the board of all the different zoning development text amendment things, goings on in the zoning and development department. So,
Mary, how is Mr. Roper's Dropbox?
I don't know why I can't hear her. Okay.
I didn't want to hear about the Dropbox.
Well, you all share now, so.
Anything else under zoning? Fire and EMS.
No reports yet. I should have it by next week.
William's gonna get some reports together.
Well, they sent it to us last, so they should, I think,
They
Chief
doubled
Zambito
up
said
last time.
they would keep up from this point on. So we have a meeting with Chief Zambito Thursday.
Thursday.
So I'll make sure that we get those.
Gotcha. Police.
Under old business, K9 Cruiser, the update, we purchased K9 car. It is the blue one that you see out here. And we have met with PAR. Unfortunately, with supply chain issues, some of the equipment that we need for the car will take several weeks to get. So, but we will have, hopefully, in about 8 weeks, it'll be all put together and done. So, yes,
There's a cruiser over at Germain.
yes,
Is there a problem?
yes. It's got a maintenance issue.
Oh.
It's not sure what a check engine light came on and it was running a little rough, so we dropped it off and waiting to hear back from them. It's a warranty. It's one of our newer cars, so,
Oh, okay. We're not having customer service concerns over there, are we?
no.
Oh, okay.
No, they're just unfortunately extremely busy and extremely short-staffed,
Okay.
so. Body camera, we submitted last week our grant for body cameras. The deadline is this Friday. Our grant has already been submitted. And if I read everything right, somewhere around 60 to 90 days, we should have an answer for body cameras. So again, I don't want to do anything purchase-wise until we find out, because they have given priority to agencies that do not have cameras. They will reimburse, but their first priority is anybody that doesn't have it is trying to establish that program. So I would like to wait instead of trying reimbursement, since we'll get priority. So our grant, I think, was that we spent for is right around $59,000. So
Yeah, do we know when we'll hear something?
I think 60 to 90 days. If I
You
read
just
it.
said that. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. But I think from what I was reading, I think we'll, and it may be sooner. I know that a contact at the AG's office said that they're pushing very hard to get this out. So people, because there's agencies that want body cameras, so they're trying to get this done. So from my understanding is once we are approved, we can place the order and then we're good. So there was a couple little items that they don't cover. So if we do this, we would probably have to spend about $4,000 out of our pocket to buy a complete system that would be covered under 5-year warranty. So
We'll probably have to sign a contract or grant agreement with them, right?
right, yes,
Okay.
I would assume.
Then after that, we'll.
Yeah,
Okay.
but yeah, so that, again, the way I read that, I think they'll get you, once you get approval, you can place your order and get everything on its way. So. Under new business, I apologize, I forgot to print off this letter. There is the approval for Kyle Storm. We submitted a job offer letter, and I would like to have his start date on October 18th. We are looking at Sergeant Bean will leave. His last day is November 30th. Actually, on the last day, he will not work the street. He will come in plain clothes. We never want anybody to work their last day, so to speak. He'll come in, we'll do a little thing for him and send him on his way. But I would like to hire Kyle on the 18th, because I'm anticipating a 6 to 8 week FTO period for him. So that way, if everything goes well, we will not be short-staffed at all. When Sean retires, Kyle will just kind of step into his role and we're not losing anything. So. And that the letter, I would start him at, let's see. Unfortunately, I don't remember what step. I think it's step B. Mary, do you remember if it's step B or C? I don't remember in the contract, but it's at, it's $32.87 per hour to start. As full-time status with his benefits, he would start on October 18th. His contingencies, he has asked for a weekend in July of 22, which I agreed to. He is, if he's not already, he's going to get married. And he would just like that weekend in July as their reception type thing. He's also requested 2 weeks off when he is expecting a newborn, sometime around March, April, May area. So, and our standard is we give everybody 2 weeks off. So I told him, irregardless of what we have going on, he would give us 2 weeks off. So to spend time with his wife and baby.
And he's already finished up on his psych and.
Yeah, I mean,
All of
he's,
that.
everything's done. No issues. He passed everything. Everything is done, clear. And it's just a matter of, we start him on October 18th.
You said 32.87.
Yes. And again, I apologize because I can't remember if that's step B or step C, but I think that is step B.
Yeah.
So just
That's
say
fine.
certain motions, the step associated with this rate.
Yeah,
I make a motion that we hire Kyle Storm to the full-time police officer position at a starting salary of $287 per hour plus benefits.
Second,
Vote
yes.
yes.
thank you. The next thing, the Frank County Sheriff's Office has changed some of their process. They would like us to sign a contract with them, and I'm okay with it. If we arrest somebody and take them to jail, the Sheriff's Office under Ohio requires now through BCI that you fingerprint everyone, take a mugshot photo, and depending on the crime, sometimes we have to take DNA swabs. The Sheriff's Office will charge $50 for any person they have to fingerprint and mugshot, and an additional $50 for anybody they have to do a DNA swab with. Now, with that said, we take, unless they are violent, we do our own fingerprints and mugshot here. They get sent to BCI. We also have folks that could do the DNA swab if we need to, but if used on a DNA swab, that is usually going to be, we probably won't do many of those, only because usually those somebody we file warrants on for a felony, and they're usually picked up by somebody else. However, I think last year to actually lock up somebody, I think we took 7 people to jail. So at the end of the day, if we didn't do anything, it would cost us $700 last year. I don't think the cost is a bad thing, if that makes sense.
Versus what it is now would be $350.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, there's not, they raised it to $50 per test, yeah. And like I said, unless they are violent, we fingerprint and mugshot everybody ourselves. That is the APHIS machine we have in the back that sends everything to BCI. So we already do that. A neighboring jurisdiction, last year they took 311 people to jail. So $31,000 is a hit. They're actually coming up on Thursday to see our machine and our process, so they kind of get an idea of how to do that. Because if they're going to spend that kind of money, they said we might as well buy our own equipment.
Or they're in a different part
So-
now.
Yes,
For
and
this, it's specific, it's those that we are not able for
Correct.
some outside, other
Yes.
reason to
if
do
they're,
on our own.
yeah, if we can't do it, we take it there. The most it's going to cost us is $100 per person.
The contract is attached here in the clip.
Yeah. I've got the original here to sign.
Oh, we've got, you don't want us to sign this copy?
Oh, I didn't realize you had a copy.
Yeah.
Never mind. I apologize.
I don't know if you
Yes.
want to see the contract. Mr.
Yeah, if you want to read
It's
that over.
Did Barry look at it?
You know,
Could you read this for me?
It's in that box that starts with a D, drop box.
I just
But
highlighted
again,
the cost.
the cost doesn't,
Um,
because the DNA swabs for us for free. So we can buy, we get the DNA kits for free, and if we need swaps, I mean, and Detective Mills has taken DNA off several suspects already, so it's not a issue. The only time it becomes an issue, again, if it's somebody that's violent, I've told our folks, they have 300 deputies at the jail. There might be 3 of us working. If somebody gets out of hand, take them straight to jail. We don't need to bring them back here, so.
Yeah, but you wouldn't, yeah, I mean, if they're violent, you're not bringing them here.
No, that's
You're
what I
taking
said.
them there.
There's 300 deputies that'll help us out with that.
Right.
We don't need to bring them here. So
Right.
again, a standard, I don't know if standard makes sense, but if you arrest somebody for a non-violent crime and we bring them in the process, we take fingerprints, we do the mug shots ourselves. So
Right.
we don't, there's no charge, even if we take them to jail, we don't have to, we can do that ourselves. So,
So do you need a motion to approve?
yes, please.
I'll make that motion.
Second,
Vote,
yes.
yes.
Thank you. And the last is, as I said earlier, Sergeant Bean's retiring. I would like to do a promotional process that we did last time when we promoted Sergeant Bean and Sergeant Conkle through the National Testing Network. I've already spoken to them. We have tentative dates pending approval. That would be an assessment. There's a written exam. We have 3 candidates that are interested in becoming a sergeant. There's a written test. There is an assessment center that has 3 exercises with it. And then there's a facilitated review. And National Testing Network will do that for us. The only thing we have to provide is the space, and it is about $7,500. So I'm looking for approval to do the promotional process. It's the exact same process we did last time.
Who signs that?
I'd like to sign.
I don't,
Yeah, I don't think we have to sign anything.
Well, it just says Perry Township contact. Why don't we just use,
Yeah, I can sign
You-
it. I just need to make sure I have approval to do it. I can sign it.
I'll move that we approve ergonomics and to provide assessments for the open sergeant position.
Second,
Vote,
yes.
yes.
Thank you. The only thing I have not on the agenda is just a quick update. I spoke with Lori today. She is recovering, minor setbacks here and there, but nothing too major. She's just had some little issues and met with the doctor today. And I think this is unfortunately gonna be a little longer road than she anticipated. So my personal opinion, based on what I know, I would be surprised if we didn't see her before January.
Chief,
Yes,
before
ma'am.
you move on from that, do you have some, can I set up time with you tomorrow to go through and make sure that we understand this report?
Oh, absolutely.
And we can work toward some information that we would share.
Oh,
with the
absolutely.
community? Okay, I'll give you a call tomorrow.
Like I said, just call me whenever you're free. I don't think I have anything on my agenda tomorrow, schedule wise, so.
And then, just so the board is aware, I did receive a contact from a resident about increased traffic on Merwood, thank you, which is the kind of secondary street going out to Snuffer. There's a concern that perhaps folks are trying to avoid the signs. But regardless, I think that that's always been a cut through. So Chief is going to have some officers do some additional.
And I have a quick update.
Yes.
After we talked about that, I
Mhm.
asked our folks to look at that every day, spend a little time. They've all reported between day shift and second shift. They've all said they don't see any increase whatsoever. So
In volume or,
yeah, in volume,
Or
speed,
speed.
nothing.
Okay.
So,
okay,
like I said, so I've asked them when they make their rounds, spend a little time there.
okay,
And I
Thank
also
you.
asked them when they do school zone in the morning to kind of keep an eye on that,
Mhm.
school zone in the afternoon, keep an eye on it. And they've all 7, I think that's 7 officers I asked to do that. And they all
Okay.
said the same thing. They didn't notice anything any different.
okay, I'll
So-
follow up with the resident.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else under police?
No, sir.
Anything from the development director tonight?
Go right ahead.
So I'm just gonna put this on your radar. So I know the sensitivity about development. But is there any way that at least for the board's eyes only somehow, I don't know how you would do this, to get some kind of report from the development director on a regular basis.
Sure.
I don't know what that looks like. I'm sorry, I don't have a lot of guidance for you, but the
Just for each
concept of
meeting?
understanding on a regular basis what is being done and who's doing what kind of helps.
Do you want it on a weekly basis, bi-weekly basis?
I just like to get it as a meeting
Okay.
twice a month
Okay.
at our meeting.
Okay, that's
I don't know
fine.
how that works, though.
Okay, I'll figure it out.
Okay.
No worries.
Are you okay with it?
I think that would be subject to any kind of, public records request though.
I mean, that's the sensitivity of it. Or if that doesn't work, then is it possible to get the development director online?
That would probably work. But it's still a public record. Well. Yeah.
We just
We'll
have to figure out a way.
We'll figure,
Yeah, I
we'll
mean,
figure
I-
out what's doable and what's not doable.
Yeah, okay, that's,
Okay.
thank you.
Item administrator.
Oh. Chuck, can you remind me about the ODOT 161? I saw the.
They had letters or something that I sent out. Did I get to a meeting? I can't find it. Brian Davidson sent out a something for us to review, and I think the deadline is this week.
Okay.
I'll look it up
Got
again.
it
and send
tomorrow
it.
morning.
Sorry.
No worries. I think we've covered facilities pretty well. Last I heard from Mr. Petrosi, KCC's property was looking better, but we're just gonna keep an eye on that. Just 1 second here. Back to where I was at. Alrighty, under new business, we have the SWACO appointment resolution. Chet, would you mind,
Yes, so the Franklin County Township Association has contacted us, Oswego. Every 2 years, we have a township representative on their board for their authority. They have a little bit different process to appoint someone. The Township Association can't just simply say, we voted with the members that are on the line. And this is who we came up with. A majority of the townships, which also have to be a majority of the townships, meaning I have to have 9 townships at a minimum, and their boards pass a resolution nominating someone to represent the townships on SWACO's board. That's their bylaws that they require. And so we opened this up to all of the entire membership, actually, of the Township Association, gave them a deadline to submit letters of interest and resume. Only one individual came forth. They're the fiscal officer of Jackson Township. Jackson Township happens to be where the landfill is. Traditionally, there is a Jackson Township representative. So, Ron Grossman, who is also the township's treasurer, I have to let everyone know that, has offered to serve for the next 2 years, but we'd have to pass a resolution. It's important. Sorry for that long explanation.
do you like to make that motion?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I move that the Prairie Township Board of Trustees nominate Ron Grossman as representative of the Franklin County Townships on the SWACO Board of Trustees.
Second vote, yes.
So we have this resolution, but it is blank. Do you want a written in name and then we sign, or do you
Yeah,
want
you
to
can
wait
just
for
write,
it?
you can just write in Ron's name that we.
Grossman?
I'm sorry.
Grossman.
Last name?
Ron Grossman.
Grossman, is that?
I'm sure that's correct.
Anything else?
Yes, sorry. Well, one thing I just want to remind everybody is that we're gonna be having the community shred on the 9th, 9 to 11 at Brookside, 11:30 to 1:30 over at Worthington Hills. Mary, you have enough people, right, to help you out? Awesome, thank you, and I appreciate Mary getting that all set up for us this year. Let's see. I think we already mentioned that we received the bond from the home that fell on, it was on fire. It was on fire. We had to get a bond for it. So we got the money in. The request for the fund is going to be on Michelle's agenda there. Let's see. There's been, during our conversation with Kevin Wheel and other members of the city of Columbus, they would like to have their Parks and Rec and Urban Forestry come in and give a brief presentation. Different ways that we can preserve the landscape we have or do tree replacement to keep things looking nice. And so as soon as I get that set up, I will have everyone come in. And I'm sorry, I can't put 2 words together tonight. So let's see. We got the initial proposal back from Med Mutual, which is looking at initially a 17% increase because of some, medical things throughout the year. They're willing to give us a 5% discount, but just for due diligence purposes, I've requested them set up the form flyer so we can look at Anthem and other health insurance as well. And I'll be getting that information put out sometime tomorrow, typically. See, Mr. and Mrs. Gargas, I'm not sure if you remember them off of Beachview. They had gone to the BZA to request variances on a few different things. Their initial plans that they submitted to the zoning department did not match up to what the BZA had agreed to. So they will need to come back to the BZA. They want to change the type of roof from a metal roof to asphalt shingles. And then there was one of the sliding doors. They were going to do three sliding doors. They're going to need to reduce that down to 2 sliding doors with 1 window. But I verified with Jenny Huber over at Bosch's office is that they have to come back in front of the BZA. I would like to request waiving that fee for the second appearance in front of the BZA.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Second vote,
Yes.
yes.
Thank you very much. Just want to give you a quick look ahead. The 1st of November, Mr. English has requested David Meadows to come in and talk about the fiber connection. I believe he's with the city of Hilliard. I think CSC, I'm scheduling them to come in and give their recommendations for our lines and switches. So everyone can get a good overview of what the recommendations are and tweak it as you need to. Okay, and that's all I have.
Fiscal officer.
Request motion to approve the establishment of Fund 9002 for fire demolition liens.
Did that bond we're talking about?
Not the, well, yes, for the fire,
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Vote,
Yes.
yes.
and request a motion to establish Fund number 2911 for the firehouse subs grant.
Make that motion.
Second.
Vote,
Yes.
And request approval of payroll and disbursements.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Vote,
Yes.
what was the amount of fire sub grant again?
15,000 change. All of our equipment. We're actually gonna start putting it out.
Have you done a newsletter recently?
No, Luke is going to help me get that started back up again.
That could be a big story.
Yes,
Mhm.
absolutely. Yeah, that's something we've been wanting to get back into high gear, and he's already working hard on the Facebook when it's not down.
And I should have had plenty of time today.
Right, and he's gonna be starting to take the lead on the newsletter as well.
Cool. Beth, I sent you the ODOT letters, it's letters of interest that they, from consultants
Oh, okay, thank you.
to do the work, so they just want our input on that.
Councilwoman Tyson raised the ODOT, the Linworth intersection.
Yeah.
As, supporting action that helps with additional traffic and the new Elmwood development and others, which.
They are paying for 45% of it. So. But that's a long time coming. It's not like-
Well, and it doesn't really actually sell for that issue.
No, that part doesn't, not at all.
I may have said that.
Anything else before we adjourn? Hearing nothing, I move that we adjourn.
So moved. Oh, second, sorry.
Vote, yes,
Yes.
we are adjourned.
I have questions about the Ron Grossman resolution, this section. Oh, I'm sorry.